I have one of those as well. I think we all have one that worked, right? I said to Mad last January.
Star Luna. Yamato Cannon Luna.
He's like, yeah, no, if you do this, then we could do that. Yeah, we could. And then they ran it for a little while, and it was okay. It was actually, it was legit for a while. And I thought, I did that. I gave that to Mad.
It worked because a lot of Dota right now is finding the pairings and like ways to make certain things unfair, right? So they did the Mag offlane, which is a weaker offlaner. He'd go in power first, buff his Wind Ranger, who would go E first, and you just hit for 65 damage level 1. It was nice.
Yeah. No one took my techies.
No one ever will, Toby. Keep that to yourself. God damn.
No, I think he meant the player did. Not no one. No one took his techies.
Just old man joke.
Oh, right.
Ridiculous.
You try.
Hurry up.
You try, right? You try.
It's like, can we please have a third pickup so we can start to form our lanes?
No surprise with that, Shaker.
No, it's
probably what you wanted to see from TeamTeam.
Yeah, Oracle and Shaker are two of the most popular 5 supports in the meta right now. It's like this. A lot of teams in China are doing this concept of one support with a ton of catch and one support that's hard save, and you see Rasta quite a bit. Sometimes even paired with the Oracle, because people have gotten a lot better at protecting their supports, and also it's not the TI patch where it felt like you just needed to draft the strongest lanes possible. Now you can get involved a bit more. We've seen this quite a bit. Playing, he's on now, but he was the one that first did it. Dying, solid counter. Very tough to run into a team fight with the Tombstone already down as the Doom. Excellent in lane against Tiny.
Did Undying get like a black and white kind of?
It does seem like it, because he used to be green.
Yeah, he's almost like he's gone like Sin City.
It's a Game of Thrones reboot. Dude, oh man, I'm sad because, like, you know how Fortnite got like the NFL jerseys and the things.
Yeah, it got a pitch as well, didn't it?
Huh?
Got the full pitch.
Oh yeah. It's not called a pitch; it's a field. But all right.
Pitch in England.
Well, this
pitch in India, and you're in India right now. So suck it up, Kyle.
You can get me with cricket, all right? When it comes to American football, I would like to consider myself the expert. Anyway, point is, why don't we get a partnership?
One of my best friends is Andrew Siciliano, but that's okay.
Oh, well, that's excellent. I don't know anyone from Italy.
He runs ESPN's own Red Zone, you Wally.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, you should give him my contact.
We used to play NFL football. Well, we still play NFL football in the same league. I beat him once.
You mean fantasy?
Fantasy football, yeah.
I don't want to hear this, all right? I've seen Paul's roster, and he's got like
ridiculous.
You had 4 first 2-round picks, and
I know
you're playing with. Do you know what a taco is? You had like 8 of them.
I know.
I want an invite next year.
I'm going to set up a league. We're going to do it.
All right.
We're going to do a proper esports 20-team league.
Happily side bet.
20-team league.
Can we get a cricket?
4 groups of 4.
American
4 groups of 5.
Real quick, this is a ton of melee on the side of TeamTeam, but they've looked best, I will say, with Envy playing the Sven, because truthfully, he is very much a feast or famine core. One of the best players with a massive advantage, but without one, he's still playing the same. And he runs into issues. Sven, if you have a good laning phase, especially with the support of that Undying, there's nothing that really can contest you. And it's possible he farms all these stacks throughout the jungle, has some crazy amount of items by like 15 minutes and can take over a map.
Just hoping their laning phase is able to get them to that point. Like Undying will be a great influence inside the lane, but Navi feel like they've got more options when they rotate, when they initiate.
Yes.
Like even early on when like, hey, Doom doesn't have a blink dagger, but it doesn't matter when you got a Tiny. You can get that toss into initiation. I'm concerned that it's a little too slow from TeamTeam.
Yeah. One thing that I've seen is important to winning games is to have a core with the ability to rotate and influence other lanes. Like you need this core to find kills, right? But you need someone to free up a lane so that your supports, especially with heroes like Shaker, can find levels and farm. Something like Secret, VP, Alliance even was doing when they won the qualifier. it gives you need your 4 position in the game, and there's just not enough XP to go around on the map unless a core is willing to sacrifice a bit of his game to go get shit done.
Yeah, but as you said, like, you need 15 minutes to farm up that Sven, but who's going to create that space in the meantime? Who's going to be the sacrifice? Is it like you're just going to sacrifice the Brewmaster, Undying, duel off or something, and then you got Navi happy just to take that direct farm? Like, a Doombringer will still win an economy. The Juggernaut's going to be fine with this to spin out to safety. It's
look at the laning phase matchups for Jug, right? Like, whether you core the Brew or the Shaker, their hero's Jug is designed to beat in lane, especially with a hero like Oracle. As soon as you're both level 3, any target that gets double queued on is dead, and there's no peel on Team. There's no save in the lanes, and
their mid has to really bring this together, and there's an Ember.
That was necessary. They needed something that could rotate. However, it's into Oracle and Jug, 2 heroes that Ember has a very annoying time playing against. And in fact, Navi's Oracle, look for me, should have a great performance here. I think his play is going to dictate a lot because it's one of the best heroes against Sven. You can purge off his Warcry, of course. You can disarm him in team fights. And again, 5 melee, and I would have mentioned it, but OD dominates Ember in the laning phase. Great hero against Sven. And if you look at Team, once this OD has a BKB, what's your counterplay? You actually have 0 BKB cleansing disable, or piercing disable rather, against the Jug. It's a free game completely for Crystallize.
Navi's got so many saves as well. Like, it's not just coming from the Oracle, but defensive imprisonments, and they're just going to keep kiting and kiting and kiting. I'm loving Navi's lineup.
Yeah, I'd give this to Navi, but Gunner's Ember Spirit is very good. It is his best hero, and he went from like a pretty good Ember in NA to perhaps this is actually like a world-class Ember, and I'm excited to see how he does in really his first opportunity on a international stage.
Tough draft against that Ember though.
Yeah.
I mean, into the Jug.
He has to do so much work as well.
A lot to do.
Yeah, I don't know how much support he's going to get.
Does have the Undying?
Yeah, let me just rotate into your lane and then just feed some
It's possible. It's just a tough game, and Navi will outscale. They have an easier time finding kills. They're going to be the team that most likely has the initiation online first. You just have to ensure this Sven of Envy doesn't get totally out of control. But I would favor Navi unless Gunner can just buy enough space and find enough kills.
Navi for Toby. Navi for Kyle. Toby, same?
I'm the same.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very convincing from both of these men on our panel. They've both gone for Navi as far as the predictions are concerned, but they don't decide things. So we'll get into game 1 with a brand new commentary team as we welcome them to ESL 1.
All right, thank you very much, Paul. We're here, me and Danog, ready to get going. We've got Navi versus TeamTeam kicking off ESL 1 Mumbai. We've heard from the panel. Matt, what's your take on this first draft?
I completely agree with the other two, right? Like, Navi,
not gonna rock the boat.
Not gonna rock the boat. The thing that kind of confuses me a little bit there is, you know, you've got this 5 melee strat, right? It's like harkens back to MVP Phoenix days, right? When we saw Caveman and Dota really rear its ugly head. But with the way that they've picked and drafted in the past, it kind of is a little bit weird, right? Because TeamTeam have picked a bunch of heroes that they've got really high win rates on. So if you look at it just from a stats perspective, you're probably going to think, okay, they're pretty well favored. But on Navi's side, they've basically all picked heroes that they either have a 50% win rate or below on. But I just think with the actual composition and how they've gone about it, Navi, despite maybe not winning quite as much, I think they're going to come out on top.
Yeah, I really like the matchups here for Navi. I'm really worried about this Brewmaster for TeamTeam. It feels like Brax has to get a lot done. Sure, the Ember Spirit's going to be able to fight as well, but Brewmaster looks like he's going to have a pretty rough lane. You know, the spin is a lot of damage. They can always dispel off the Drunken Brawler as well using the Oracle, so it's not really super useful in that sense. And overall laning situation for Navi just seems that little bit better to me.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the way that Nusham builds, he's already got the Boots of Speed picked up there, so he's not going to have that threat of being chased down really early on by the combination with the Oracle Root and the Juggernaut Spin. And they've also got a couple of other heroes that have rotated around with them. You know, they had the Ember Spirit there with them, but he's backed off. He wants to block off a little bit. But
how much is blocking the lane going to help as the Shaker? Is that gonna be enough to make the Brewmaster's lane kind of tolerable? Like, if they don't have room to chase him, then they won't be able to kill him with spin, I suppose.
I mean, it's going to be difficult. Nusham...
Oh, toss coming in. All right, Chu does manage to grab that bounty. But still 2-2 split across the board.
Yeah, 2-2 split. He's already used the Fisher, so another 10 seconds until he can. I'm sure he'll want to try and get the most favorable matchup for him as possible, but against an Oracle Juggernaut, you're always going to have a little bit of difficulty as we see the top lane with the Undying. You know, it's always going to be quite difficult. Laning against that, you know, particularly early on, with people needing to get right in that melee range to actually have the full effectiveness. So,
is this the one lane for TeamTeam that should go pretty well, the Undying against the double melee?
I would think so, you know, particularly because they are both strength heroes as well, so it just takes off a lot of what they're able to do, both damage-wise as well as the HP.
Just got to make sure to keep the lane under control as well. Blizzy has opted for the Devour first, so going to help him sustain a little bit against the harassment, and I guess we'll just have to see what creep pops up at the 1 minute mark.
Absolutely. So I'm thinking just like what sort of timings both teams really going to be going for, right? You know, you've got this Earthshaker where Nusham really likes playing these high impact, you know, first team fight position heroes. You know, he goes the Enigma, he goes the Earthshaker, he goes Earth Spirit, you know, heroes that can really start a fight and or counter initiate. So they're going to put a lot of priority into him, into actually building up into a lot of farm early on. We can see right now he's pulled a creep wave all the way back nearly to the tier 3 tower in that bot lane.
Just wants to secure all 4 of this CS. To me, it seems, and correct me if I'm wrong, I feel like Navi are much more comfortable taking this late here. I think they outscale TeamTeam by an order of magnitude. It's going to be really easy for them in the late game. They've got the full Tricore, right? Yep. They've got the full scary Tricore, whereas TeamTeam, Sven falls off a little bit. Brewmaster can scale, but like I've said, I think it's a difficult game for him. And the Ember is starting with a tough lane, so going to be hard to catch up. Though Gunner's doing pretty well so far, gotta say. 9-2 versus 8-1.
Yeah, absolutely.
Toss back on Mike. He's actually under the tower, but this is Undying we're talking about, and Envy's there to help out.
Absolutely, and that's the real bonus of running this Sven, which I think TeamTeam's one of the few teams that purely run that Sven in that core role, right? A lot of teams kind of throw it around as a Mr. Fix-It kind of deal, but you can really benefit from the fact that the Warcry is based off a lot of the strength now, right? And so you don't have to worry about, oh, well, Warcry is not going to actually benefit the team as much. You can be both a damage dealer as well as something that just makes the rest of your team very hard to kill, which could definitely be a factor with this 5 melee lineup.
The Warcry is weaker as a counter to the Jug now, right? I would say, just because it's not armor. So the Omnislash is going to get through that pretty quickly, but still useful to have, of course. And yeah, like you're saying, Sven used to be very popular, kind of position 3, received a lot of nerfs. I guess position 4 and 5, we were also seeing him.
Magical blocked off in the mid lane, but doesn't look like they'll be able to follow up on it either.
He's just manning up, just giving Gunner the punches.
Yeah. And you mentioned before about, you know, the scalability of Navi versus TeamTeam. You know, you've got this particular OD. I think he's going to be the real game changer for his team, right? Because you've got all of these strength heroes, you've got all these melee cores that just aren't going to have the same level of impact, you know, not very high int gain on any of these. And so it's going to be kind of difficult. They're going to be taking a ton of damage through this Sanity's Eclipse, and I think that they've got the teamfight control to enable that to happen, both with the Doom, as well as the tiny initiation and everything else in between.
Little glyph used to prevent some of the mana regain for Magical at mid. It's a cute little play, but works out pretty nicely, and he's still down about a 3rd mana here. It's always the little things. What are you expecting build-wise from the OD? How important is Blink? Is there room for a Midas? What are the thoughts here? Mike in some trouble at top. Still pretty tanky, still has another Decay, but getting blocked in a little bit. Nusham's here to help out, though, and the Fisher block is going to look like be enough, though. They get another toss back into tower range. One auto attack coming through, and that is going to be your first blood. I talked about it on the panel, and these tiny tosses super useful.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, just being able to have that utility of not just being purely an initiation. You know, he's a position 4. He can just fulfill so many roles, rotate around the map, be a constant threat. You can see Nusham wants to make a bit more of an impact.
Now we got mid laners manning up against each other, both of them down to about half HP. Gunner going in pretty aggressively, needs to be careful though. Chu is here, doesn't have the mana quite. The stick charge is not going to be enough to give him a toss either. So actually looks like the Tiny now the one in trouble. They've still got the block. And Imprisonment comes through. Looks like Magical and Chu both going to be okay.
Having that 0 armor and manning up against an Earthshake, you know, when he's got that enchant totem particularly, right, you're going to take a lot of damage, particularly if you're blocked off like that, and taking a little bit from all the creeps in the lane as well. But in terms of what Magical likes to build, he tends to really go for this frontliner style, right? Because Navi like to run, for example, the Razor. It was banned out this game, but the way that Crystallize and Magical play it are very different. You know, Magical likes to build the Yule's BKB, whereas Crystallize is a bit more of the you know, just constant sustain and the pick-off potential of having like an ATOS and an SNY. So I think it might be a bit of that style where he just wants to live for as long as possible. And even then, if they look to commit even further onto it, you've got the Oracle save, so you can use the false promise to maybe save it.
Do you think he even goes even further in and you consider the health talent versus the attack speed at level 10?
I don't know. I think particularly in this game, the attack speed is so useful.
It's so valued.
Yeah, and against this lineup as well, right? You know, you don't have a lot of heroes that are going to be...
Lizzie's blocked in at top, but he's got this ice armor, so he's actually really not taking very much damage. Ice armor and the chainmail. Doom, not normally a very high armor hero, but he's got plus 13 in this situation.
Yeah, and the Devour creep as well, right? So it's just constant regen coming up for him. He didn't even think about popping that salve. It's still sitting in his backpack, and he's happy to go back to the jungle.
He's having a pretty good time, though. I mean, Brack's not too far behind in terms of levels. He's been jungling quite a bit at this bottom lane, just waiting for it to get the push in. They do get a toss back on Gunnar at mid. He's not level 6 just yet. Chu trying with the body block. Sandy's Eclipse doesn't do anything. Looks like it was actually dodged by the Slight. And Gunnar gonna give him the tip as well. Why not? Magical, now basically nothing in the tank to work with. Even popped that imprisonment without the equilibrium off cooldown.
A little bit behind, you know. We can see him building again into those power treads, so he's prioritizing a lot of this attack speed, wanting to get a lot of that in stolen quite early on. I don't think Blizzy's in too much.
No, he's actually just thumping his chest and saying, come at me. They're really, I don't know if they can do this. They are rotating Gunnar over now. Tombstone dropped behind the tower. It's a 4-man rotation and nothing coming in from Navi to help out Blizzy. I don't know if there's any way out for him here. There's no point in the Searing Chains, though. So can Blizzy actually just walk away?
It's a huge commitment, and they're not even going to get it. You know, 4-man commitment. They lose Brax in bot lane. OD gets a bit more farm when he was already, you know, doing quite well against the Ember Spirit, and just looks like it'll extend even further.
Yeah. All right, well, the question now is, can they get this tower? They got the next creep wave coming in. Tombstone's about to fade. They're not very good at hitting buildings, to be honest.
No, definitely not.
Blizzy's just trying to drag the creep wave.
I mean, until EE actually gets a few items, right? He's got the treads. He always goes that first. He'll go into the Echo Saber next. And then it's a bit of a mixed bag. You know, will he pick up the BKB? Will he get the SNY? He really likes getting MKB as well. But do we think the game is going to go that late? I mean, we're seeing at this point that Navi's definitely got the better of the first stanza.
Okay. All right, another block in. Blizzy once again the target. Gunnar tanking the tower a little bit. Half HP. Help is coming though. Chu's on his way. Throws out the avalanche. Is that going to open up enough space? Nope. One more sleight of fist from Gunnar. They do finally get that kill, but they have spent so much time in this top lane.
I mean, in that time...
Oh, Brax? Okay, he's dragging some waves. He's got level 6 now, so he's fine.
Yep. In that time, I think OD and Ember were about level on last hits.
Yeah.
And now OD has a 17 last hit lead just in that time, and they get 1 kill out of it. Not really well.
I was actually surprised at how well Gunnar was doing in lane versus the OD.
And now he's kind of thrown it away.
A little bit, yeah. I mean, they got the 1 kill, but that 1 kill is not worth the, 2 or 3 minutes that feels like that they spent all the way up at top.
Absolutely. You know, particularly in this early game, right, where you want to be able to have that, you know, constant movement around the map. We can even see from the levels. Now OD is level 8 versus a level 6 on the Ember Spirit, so that's going to really come into the equation.
TeamTeam once again just running their heroes over towards top lane, but Navi are responding. They've got the Doom thrown out onto Envy. He used the ultimate a little bit earlier. Avalanche only just catching on to him, but they should have the damage here. Don't know there's going to be an opportunity for a deny. No one on TeamTeam can get anywhere close. 5 melee lineup. They even threw out a potential TP there, but looks like it got canceled. No real opportunity.
But Brax would be pretty happy with how this bot lane's gone. Obviously, he did die that one time, but not doing too bad. He's falling a little bit behind in the CS department, but in terms of experience, he's still doing all right. He's level 6, nearly level 7. He's actually got a rotation going through with Nusham now.
But they know that they can't kill the Jug, right? So they're just immediately swapping him over. They want to use the Primal Split at mid.
Nice positioning from Misha.
Actually scouting this out a little bit. They do jump in. Fisher coming through a chain stun onto the OD. They don't quite have level 6 on the Oracle, and he gets sent up into the air. The OD down. They do take quite a lot of damage for this, but they look to continue going on. Oracle focus next, stunned up, will be right-click down, and TeamTeam a much more successful rotation than an attempt that they made over a top. Though they do bring all 3 cores to the mid lane, and I don't even know if they can actually get the tower.
Yeah, I mean, it's this early into the game, right? It's pre-10 minutes, bounties are about to come up. heroes are going to spawn very quickly, right? And it's just going to be so easy to get around. I guess focusing on the potential of killing an OD and an Oracle versus a Doom, just because of how tanky it is. You know, that ice armor doing a lot of work.
Shim in a bit of an awkward spot here in the river. Chu gonna cut him off, and looks like it should be a free kill. They're actually tossing him back to Magical, just to 100% secure that.
I like it.
Yeah, give him a little bit of extra gold. He does already have a Hex and a Kaya queued up. Is there any chance you think that he goes straight for the Hex? Is that a build?
I mean, it does make him have a lot of utility in these team fights, and, you know, the Juggernaut has had very much a free lane. You know, we talk about the tower-taking potential that's happened at top with the rotations from TeamTeam, but Crystallize has basically been solo the whole time, and that tower is at about a quarter HP in bot. I think he's got a siege creep as well, so I'd look to pressure it even further.
And the Jug is having a completely free game. His lane was secured by his supports. It's kind of difficult for the Brewmaster to play against him anyway. They had the counter pick, and great. I'm so afraid of the sanities of Eclipse this game. Yeah. Like I'm just looking at TeamTeam, and I just don't.
Outlast. Ayo, kamusta? Shoutout working while streaming sa'yo.
Shoutout by Brax, nicely done.
Shoutout po.
Immediately TPing all the way back to the fountain.
Ayun pa shoutout naman dyan, sabi ni Algin Dimen. Ay, shoutout po, boss.
Lead here early on. 3 of the top 4 net worth, all on their side, though. Gunner not trailing too far behind.
Yeah. I mean, what do you think about Magical obviously going with this int heavy build, right? Like, I hate Midas and how it was picked for everything, like as a catch-all build. I think OD now was actually one of probably 5 heroes that you could still build it on because you get so much benefit of having that increased attack speed, right? Like, it's one of the most efficient items for attack speed in the entire game. And you get the additional bonus of just having that experience and that gold game.
Okay, an attempt on this top tower. Gunner is pressuring Blizzy a little bit. Doesn't get the chains, though. Latches onto the creeps. And Gunner kind of low on mana. Does, of course, have his TP scroll off cooldown. So could head back, refill the bottle. They are looking on Navi to actually head down towards bottom. They've got the Doom available, and Brax still hanging out here under the tower. Gets doomed up. Misha also looking to lock him down.
I think they follow up. I don't think they do.
Yeah, do they have enough damage? He's already halfway through the duration. Blizzy's now on top of him, but only 1 point in the Infernal Blade. So Brax looking like he might actually be just fine. Keeps on running it off. They would like to force out the Primal Split if possible. He uses the Drunken Brawler, but it immediately gets removed. So he's on the run, toss forward, but it's just the Mud Golem, and Nushim makes the long run over as Brax tries to find a place in the trees to TP out. They'll have some vision on him. This is a lot of time wasted, but he will finally be brought down.
I think he could have got away if he just kept running. Just build up a little bit more time. I don't know. Just keep running, right? It's another 5-10 seconds take.
Yeah. Maybe you force the OD to TP or something.
Yeah, I mean, maybe the risk of the risk reward was right. I don't mind if I die now, but I really don't want to feed the kill to the OD and enable him to come online a bit earlier.
So going back to your earlier point of talking about the Midas a little bit, I think the big thing for me this game is that Navi clearly have the better late game. So the only way to lose here is to be too greedy.
Yeah.
Like, if you buy 3 Midases and you get run over, then you only have yourself to blame. So I really like the decision to just say, okay, I'm just going to pump up my ulti as much as possible. I don't even think he needs to get very many auto attacks off in a fight. He just needs to be able to cast the Sanity's Eclipse, and they'll win the fight at that point. So I totally agree with the decision here. It's even going to 250 HP talent. I think to me that says a lot about what Magical is looking at this game. He's like, all I need to do is press my ulti. And I can't let them kill me before that happens.
Well, he's already got the Mystic Staff built
rotation at mid. Nice. Fisher does block off Blizzy. Brax immediately popping the ultimate. They might just be able to kite this away, though. The Tombstone also down, and they're just running for it on Navi. They will be able to send the Doom up into the air, but the Juggernaut's now here on the front lines. Envy pops his ulti. He does have the Echo Saber. He's going to do decent damage. Crystallize trying to kite backwards. They do have the defensive imprisonment to keep him alive. Blizzy also in an awkward situation, but once again, this Ice Armor is doing so much work for him. And now the turnaround comes. They toss in the Juggernaut. He gets the Omni Slash off. Brax is dead, and TeamTeam just getting run over. Blizzy easily able to deal with the Tombstone. They don't quite get the gold, but really good kiting from Navi. Good defensive play with the imprisonment.
And again, it was a heavy commitment. It was a good play with the defensive play, but he also used the false promise on him just before he was imprisoned as well. So it didn't have the maximum effectiveness, but still, I'd say getting the better end of that team fight by a fair margin. Now, we see with the OD's build, he's got up the Mystic Star, so he's getting closer and closer to getting that Hex. And it looks like he's going into a Kaya afterwards. Do you think he needs to build into a bit more like the BKB, just to enable him to, as you said, get off that Sanity's Eclipse and have that impact in the team fights, you know, not get cycloned up by the Brewmaster if he splits?
I think it might be okay. Yeah, the Cyclone is a concern. The other disables I don't think are as much of a problem, especially with the Oracle. And I think the other way to play it here is instead of getting a BKB, just to get a blink and just wait. So wait far enough away that you can't get initiated on, and then just blink it and immediately pop your ult. And at that point, you just early. Yeah, getting jumped on here. Brax is going to take that kill, working a little bit towards his Vlads. So TeamTeam get a nice pick, but still pretty far behind on the tower situation. Actually, all 3 tier 1 towers still up for Navi, and TeamTeam have lost all of their tier 1.
Yeah, and we can see the way that they want to build it, right? Like, Nushim has gone into this Soul Ring build and the Tranquil, so he really wants to prioritize rotating around as much as possible, enabling that Gunner Ember Spirit to be able to have an impact, but...
Do you feel like he has? Has Gunner had the impact that you were expecting this game?
I mean, I think he would have if he actually stayed in that mid lane a little bit longer, but that foray up to the top lane, 2 or 3 minutes being taken to kill a Doom once, I think was pretty excessive.
Is it even that good of an Ember game? So we saw the OD pick come out. Of course, the OD is a little bit of a counter pick, so that's granted. But against Navi's other heroes, like Oracle is annoying. He can always just purge. You. He's got the magic immunity on his W, the Fate's Edict. Crystallize, the Juggernaut really doesn't care about Ember. What was the Ember pick supposed to do this game? Because it feels like so far Gunner did okay in the lane, and since then we just haven't really seen a whole lot of it.
I mean, he's not going the super late game farmy build, right? He's going into the Maelstrom, so maybe they just wanted that early pressure just in case Navi wanted to go, you know, super early for a kind of pressure build. Obviously they're not because they've got the better late game, but I guess covering their bases. But it feels like a little bit of an outdraft from Navi, you know, realizing that, right, we probably haven't had the success that we want on these heroes, but we're confident this is going to really work well for us. And this is actually the first game that Misha's played with Navi where he hasn't been a Vengeful Spirit, and they've actually had a 0-3 record with him playing that Venge. So something a bit different, and the Oracle's been working out really well for him.
Well, like they said in the interview, right, they've played like 25, 30 scrims with him as the captain in the last week or so. So it does seem like Navi have kind of gelled together a little bit more. It's super interesting to me that they would bring in a stand-in for position 5 and just hand him the reins.
Yeah.
It's a huge amount of pressure to put on Misha.